Okay, now we're recording. Terrific. Okay. I was not recording there for a second because I restarted, so we're recording. Today is, what is today? Sunday, January 10th, 2021. This is our Finding Inner Calm with Qigong webinar. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to do in the webinar specifically, because some of you may not know my setup. So I am basically a Qigong hermit. I live in basically a modern camper van, an RV. For the non-Americans, that's confusing. But no, Europe has these too, but it's very popular in the United States. So I live in a small RV and I travel around so that I can sort of spend more time in nature. It's great, me and my dog traveling around the country, but it makes it hard for me to demonstrate techniques in a setup like this, right? Because I literally do not have room in the van. So what I did was I recorded a video this morning. Okay, I went out in the cold. It's cold even here in North Florida. And well, cold is relative to my New York City upbringing, but it was, I don't know, 40 something this morning when I shot the video. Uh, so I shot the video and I'm going to teach you an exercise. I'm going to narrate the instructions while we're watching that, and then I'll take questions afterwards. And you're, of course, welcome to do the exercise with us. A few tips about Zoom if you haven't used it before. So if you want me to see you, which is fine, I can click this button here, and then I can see everybody. But if you want me to see you, then you got to angle the camera in a way that I can see you. And you got to have some light, right? You have to have some good lighting so that I can see you. It's not necessary. You don't need me to see you, but sometimes if you're asking a question and you want me to sort of check things, uh, that might be what you want. Okay, somebody keeps unmuting themselves. Please keep yourself muted for the time being. Let me take a quick look at where everybody's logging in from, because I always like to see that. So UK, Poland, Canada, Croatia, Florida. Oh, hey, Stuart. Liverpool, South Africa. Very cool. Colorado. Hi, Mindy. Aurora, Colorado. Mexico, South Africa, North Carolina, UK, Oklahoma, Israel, Poland. So as you can see, and this is often the case with our webinars, we have people from all over the world, which is amazing and fantastic. I've been teaching online now for several years, but it doesn't get old. The fact that we can just all get together live, and we're all over the world in different time zones, different hemispheres. A couple of you are in the other hemisphere, so it's summer for you, it's winter for us here. It's very, very cool. If somebody, Melissa, can you figure out who's making noise and mute them? I think it's Pat. Okay. Um, so we've got many different cultures here, many different countries. We've got all different ages, all different body types. And that is one of the greatest things about Qigong. It's one of the things I love most about it is that, and I'm speaking from experience here, this is not theory. Qigong works for everybody. It works for 20-year-olds and 80-year-olds. It works for Americans and Europeans and Asians and Africans. It works for everybody. So it's so cool to be able to connect like this as a group and to do Qigong worldwide. Most of you probably know that I had a brick and mortar Qigong studio in Gainesville, Florida for about 10 years, actually, plus or minus. And that was great. I mean, I taught, thousands of people in my studio there, and that was fantastic. And then in 2016, I closed my studio to go largely online. I say largely because up until last year, I was teaching a retreat in Costa Rica every summer. And obviously, because of the pandemic, I couldn't do that in Costa Rica last year, which was heartbreaking because we all love that retreat in Costa Rica. So let's talk about inner calm, what Qigong can do for us, because these are, crazy times. I mean, there's a lot going on. There has been a lot going on for a long time. So actually, a year ago, I was where was I? Lake Havasu on the Arizona-California border. I was traveling around in my camper van, And, it was like, what, a couple months later in March when everything happened with the pandemic. And I actually drove all the way from California back to Florida so that I could be closer to my parents who are, they're almost, well, my mother's 80 and my father's almost 80. And it just felt like I should be closer to home. And my brother is here in Florida as well and his family. So, it's been quite a year. It's been an intense year for a lot of people. There's a lot of stress. I'll tell you one thing I've seen as a teacher. I've been teaching all this year online, of course. We canceled our retreat, but I've been teaching as usual online. And one thing I see from my students is an acknowledgement, yes, that there's a lot of stress and that things are stressful out there, but not a full acknowledgement. And I want you to be aware of that right from the beginning. I mean, you joined this webinar for a reason, right? Like, oh, I need some inner calm. But do you fully appreciate that the entire world is going through something that is extraordinary? And then for those of us in America, we got extra stuff with all the election and the politics stuff. So there is more stress than ever before, probably in a lot of most of our lifetimes, I would say. And I don't say that lightly. I was there in 9/11, as I mentioned, for when the towers fell. I mean, I watched the smoke from my rooftop. It was just, it was an incredible, surreal day. So I'm no stranger to big events and stress and things like that. But there's so much going on and it's so protracted, it's so prolonged that it gets inside. It gets inside of our systems and it becomes the new normal. And I can almost guarantee that all of you are here today, that reason where you're like, okay, I want to go live. That reason is that you acknowledge that there's a lot of extra stress in your life, but you still may be underestimating it, or maybe you want to do something about it and you're not sure. Let me tell you right off the bat that I'm going to teach you some awesome stuff in this webinar, but this isn't a quick fix. I mentioned in the email that you need a daily dose of inner calm, and very simply, I'll explain why. It's the same reason you need to bathe often, right? Because it doesn't last, right? You don't just bathe once a month or once a year or something like that. You bathe every day. By bathing, I mean take a shower or whatever. You clean yourself or brush your teeth, right? You have to brush your teeth every day. It's one of these things that you need to do on a daily basis. Otherwise, the stress will creep back in. So you have to do something on a daily basis. Now, that's not easy. That's a lot of what I do as a teacher, is to help students to deal with the modern challenges of practicing an art like Qigong. So if you are new to my teaching, don't worry, because today what I'm going to give you is basically about a 5-minute routine. It's very simple. It's simpler than a lot of the other routines that I teach. You can sort of do it anywhere. You'll look a little bit ridiculous, but not the worst I've seen. And it's really short and simple. And if we do it right, and I've got some tips for you that I think I can, even those of you who maybe learned this exercise before, I think I can help you to get more out of it. The idea would be within a 5-minute period to feel a difference. That's all. To feel slightly better after about 5 minutes of doing Qigong. That's it. And then to rinse and repeat. You can do it more than once a day, but you need to do it, at least shoot for every day. If you don't do it every day, that's fine. But your goal, you're aiming for every day. 5 minutes every day is something that we can all do. If we're not doing 5 minutes a day, it's not because we don't have time. It's because of other issues. There are many issues here. The psychological issues are legit. I'm not going to blame you or shame you for not practicing. We just have to work around actually, that's one of the reasons people don't practice, is because they feel shame for not taking better care of themselves, or for missing a day, or things like that. Or people self-sabotage for all kinds of reasons. There's a million reasons why people don't do things that they should, things that are good for them. But we're going to try to work around that, and we're going to eliminate the time issue. So if I was telling you, you need to practice Qigong every day and you need to do it for an hour a day, well, that would be different. That's hard. That's hard for a lot of reasons. One, because carving out an undisturbed hour is really challenging. Two, concentrating for an hour on an art like Qigong is really challenging. Three, there's all the self-sabotage and all those other issues that come in. But I'm not asking you to do that. I'm asking you to do like 5 minutes. It's nothing. And well, it's not nothing. It's actually pretty amazing. You can be stressed for like, 23 minutes, 23 minutes and 23 hours and 55 minutes per day. But as long as you do at least 5 minutes a day, you can undo some of that stress. And I can't overemphasize how important it is to start doing something. I think a lot of you are probably already doing something. Maybe you're doing some yoga. Maybe a lot of you I know already. You're already doing some Qigong. Maybe you're doing some sitting meditation. If you're already doing something in the world of mindfulness, let's say, good, keep that. Then what we're going to do is add like 5 minutes a day of Qigong, of like the routine that I'm going to teach you. And I'll give you some other tips as well, other things that you can do as well. Hold on a second. I need a sip of my tea here. Okay, so for those who came in late, let me just review this important point. You have to do something every day because it's just like bathing or brushing your teeth. You expect to do those things daily because it doesn't last, right? Brushing your teeth is not something that oh, this is really cool. I saw this good video about brushing my teeth. I think I'm going to try that for a little while. And then you try it for a week or two and then you stop, right? Brushing your teeth is something that you need to do every day. Same thing with bathing. Or not everybody showers every day. That's cultural a little bit, but you shower, frequently. So whatever it is, you need to do it frequently. And you want to do it frequently. You just, it's part of your mind doesn't understand that yet. And that's the mind that rebels. That's what we call the monkey mind. Terrific. That's great to hear, Lois, that you've been doing the 15-minute routine from the free program. And what I'm going to teach you today is even simpler. So you can use that as a bonus on top of whatever else you're already doing. The Qigong that I'm going to teach you today it mixes fine with anything else that you're doing. So if you're doing other types of Qigong or Tai Chi or yoga or sitting meditation, like I said, I would never want to undermine or upend anybody's existing mindfulness practice. The world is moving gradually towards mindfulness. The entire world is moving that way, but not everybody has a mindfulness practice yet. So if you are somebody who already has a mindfulness practice, you are ahead of the curve. Congratulations. You're leading the pack. Keep whatever it is you have, and then try to take something from what I teach you today and add it to your little routine. Okay, so what we're going to do today is actually a sort of hybrid exercise. What I did was I just mixed together two exercises. The two exercises are called shaking the tree, which a lot of you already know. If you may have learned it from me or elsewhere, it's a very common exercise in the Qigong world, although I will give you some tips and help you to probably get more out of it than you typically do. And the second exercise is called flicking water. And I'll give you a little backstory quickly on that exercise. So although I don't do much of it now, I have done a lot of what I call clinical Qigong therapy. So it's different than what I teach. So clinical Qigong is two people, me and you, or me and another person, me being the therapist and you being the client or the patient or whatever you want to call it. And what it is it's a lot like Reiki, or it's like Reiki, or actually closer to acupressure, but without the pressure. So you're just actually using qi directly and using energy directly on the person. And when you do that, it's a little bit dangerous for the therapist because there's this risk of taking energy back from the person, negative energy back, which you don't want to do, especially if you're seeing a lot of people, which I did for a few years. By the way, I stopped teaching that, not because it's not effective, it is, but it's not cost effective. So, one-on-one, and what you need to pay me to do that. And then, what's missing from the world is people healing themselves. So I just decided I would do less of that and do more teaching, because the world needs more self-healing. There are a lot of good therapies out there. The therapy that I was doing was on par with like acupuncture or massage therapy or chiropractor. There are many effective methods out there that you can use. But all of those methods are complemented by self-healing Qigong. So that's what I teach and that's what I focus on. Anyway, when I was seeing patients or clients, whatever, not patients, because that's a legal issue, after each session, I would do this flicking water, which you'll see in a minute, where you shake the energy off the hands while sort of dropping down onto your heels. And the motion is helpful, as you'll see, you'll learn that, but it's also a psychological thing. What we're going to be doing today with shaking the tree and flicking water is literally and metaphorically shaking off tension. It's easy to understand, right? You know, you're sort of shaking and bouncing around. I'll show you in a minute. I'll show you a real video. And then you're flicking things off. You can very easily imagine flicking off negativity and shaking it off and, you know, releasing that negativity, whatever that might be, the stress from, doesn't have to be specific. It's just like, oh, get this stuff out. I actually posted on Instagram today a joke that we should name this exercise Fierce Tiger, letting go of all that shit. You know, that it's just like, let it go. Like I joked in the email with you guys, like, what a year this week has been, right? Like, it's just a stressful week. And so we need to let some of that stuff go. So we have the combination of the physical exercise, the breathing and the sounds that I'll help you to make, and the energetic effect after it, right? We're only going to be doing 5 minutes. So it's not going to be or 5 minutes at a time. So it's not going to be a super deep session like some of the other things I teach, and that's fine, but the energy will flow. Your energy will respond to this making of sounds and moving the body and sort of feeling like you're letting go of some energy. And that's good. That's what you want, right? You want to let go of that stuff. So just keep in mind that to get the longer term benefits of Qigong, you need to learn what I teach is the 5-phase routine. That's great. It's a deeper meditative session, but this has its own little meditation to it, its own little Zen to it, which is that you're shaking off tension and shaking off negative energy. So how does that work? Well, we can talk about that in a little bit, but let's actually dive into the exercise. So I'm going to share my screen and play a video, and you're welcome, you know, make some space. So you need some space around you. If you want me to see you, which is helpful for me as a teacher. I mean, I don't need to correct you that much, but if you want me to see you, you'll need to adjust your, the space around your video. If you don't want me to see you, you can even turn your video off. That's fine. And watch me, what I'm doing. And just know that this is a recorded video, but I'm going to be narrating it live. And then afterwards, you can ask questions, and we can even watch the video again. It's about 5 minutes total. Okay, so let me just take a gallery view here. So if you want, like Naomi has it, and Blaze, a few of you have it, so I can basically see you if you want me to see you, and if not, you can turn off your video and just follow along. Okay, let me share the video.
Sifu,
Yes.
can I?
Go ahead.
Question?
Sure. Go ahead.
All I see is a bunch of patchwork little windows. Is there any way I can? I'm not experienced with Zoom. Can I get only you on the screen? How do I do that?
Hold on. Is that how everybody's seeing it, or is everybody seeing just me?
It depends on the view that you select.
Okay, so there should be, I didn't know if I could override that somehow. There should be a view button someplace, and what you want to do is choose speaker. That's me, or whoever's speaking.
Okay, I'll work on that. Sorry to bother you.
No, that's a fantastic question, and that's exactly.
If I could just say, it'll be in the upper right corner of his screen. It'll say gallery view, and you'll want to, I'm sorry, what's your name? Keith. You'll want to just click on speaker view.
Perfect.
Okay. Well,
The right-hand corner.
It's like the upper, it's not the exact right-hand corner, but sort of the middle upper right. There's a little button there.
no, I don't see it, but
It's in my upper left corner for some reason.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I'll keep
believe,
working.
I believe it depends on what device you're using.
I've got an iPad.
Oh, slide left a few times until it's just me.
Oh, now you went away.
Am I here now? Or is it?
You're back, but
There's.
well,
Everybody else.
now I'm lost you again. But I'll find you. I don't want to distract from the class. I can keep working on it.
That's fine. Don't worry. I bet there's other people who have the same issue on an iPad.
Keith, I think when you find him, you can actually like side click on him and pin him so that he doesn't go away.
Pin me. I'm right here.
Yeah, pin the screen.
I don't know how to do that. I'm so sorry.
That's
Yeah.
okay. We can work on it.
All right. I'll keep working on it. As long as I can see you, Anthony, I'm happy.
And
Okay.
remember, the replay will come through. I've got mine on speaker view, so we'll mute
Okay.
everybody in a second. And in the replay, you'll be able to see it. And the
All right.
video recording that I can also share the video recording that
Okay.
it's
By
going to
the
be.
way, thank you so much for what you're doing today.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
I'm
Yeah,
muted.
You're new. Good. Okay. Well, you're going to have a good time. So make sure you've got some room around you to try this exercise. Let's dive in. Hang on a second. Let me just mute everybody. Nope. Hang on. Okay. So here we go. So this is shaking the tree. Just want to double check that everybody can see this, right? Blaze, I can see you. Okay, good. Thank you. I saw your thumbs up. Okay, so the feet are about shoulder width and the hands are just relaxed by your sides and you're just going to bounce. Don't worry about this. This is the flicking water part. Don't worry about that yet. Just bounce and shake in the loosest way possible. So the idea is to be as loose as possible with this. The way a lot of people teach it, it's not quite very loose. You can see I'm leaning in different directions. It looks a little bit like I'm drunk. That's fine. Don't worry. Just shake and be as loose as you can. Check that your jaw is relaxed, your breathing is relaxed, your shoulders are relaxed. Everything is bouncing and shaking in as loose a way as possible. Okay, there's a lot of freedom here that people don't use, and they should. You should explore the freedom to move around in this technique. Good. Now I'm going to actually start it over. And I want you to add this flicking water part. You see, I lift up on the toes just a little bit and then come gently down on the heels as I flick water off of my hands. Not real water, but figuratively, like I'm flicking water off my hands. Okay, you'll see me come up on the toes a little bit and then just sort of land gently down on the heels and flick water off the hands. It takes a few tries to get the hang of it, but you'll get the hang of it. And I think you can also hear the audio in the video that I'm saying, oh, like a big sighing sound. You can actually say whatever sound you want that helps you release stress. You can, on your own time, you can curse like you just stubbed your toe, or you can sigh, but you need to make some sort of audible sound. The sound I'm using there is the traditional sound, which is oh, like a HA or HU sound. And you can hear it. You can actually hear me making that sound. And then I just continue bouncing afterwards. Okay, here's another front view. You can see I can shift my weight, turn my head, move around like the world's worst dancer. Be the world's worst dancer. That's a good way to do this. Not too fast and not too slow. And then every once in a while, you know, every maybe 10 seconds or so, every 5 seconds, you're going to do the flicking water part. So just sort of continue shaking afterwards. And then when you feel like it, you come back and you do flicking water. Good. Continue. Those of you with video on, you look ridiculous, and that's good. That's what you're supposed to look like. Here's another view. Good. Just shaking. You see, even my fingers are relaxed. And even during the flicking water part, my fingers still stay relaxed. Everything is loose. You can move in different directions. Lift up a little bit on the heels. Here I'm doing it a few times in a row. You can see I'm flicking water 3 or 4 times in a row. You can do that as well. And making the sound. So you're doing 3 things when you flick the water. You're lifting up on the heels, then you're flicking the water off your hands, and you're sighing at the same time. So now let's settle the chi. So you can gradually stop bouncing so much, but you're still moving. You can see I'm sort of twitching and adjusting and letting the kinks settle. The eyes can be open or closed during all of this. So my eyes here are half closed. It looks like they're closed, but they're actually half closed. And I'm settling in, breathing and relaxing. Good. And then you put your hands on your lower belly and you do square breathing, which I'm going to teach you in a minute, but it's very simple. You just breathe in for about 2 or 3 seconds, pause for 2 or 3 seconds, breathe out for 2 or 3 seconds, and pause. So each part of those 4 parts, in, pause, out, pause, are all equal like a square. So if it's 2 seconds, each side is 2 seconds. If 3 seconds is more comfortable for you, then each side is 3 seconds. The hands are below the belly button, just below, not on top of the belly button, just below. And don't worry if you're doing diaphragmatic breathing or not, just breathe and you count to yourself. So like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, that's for the in-breath. And then pause would be, again, a 3 count. Exhale through the mouth with a 3 count, and then pause at the bottom with a 3 count. Or it could be 2 seconds, whatever's comfortable. You shouldn't be out of breath at all. So it could be 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi on the in-breath and on each side, or 3 Mississippi or 4 Mississippi. But once you find a comfortable duration, make it that same amount on each side. Hang on again, we'll continue with the square breathing for a second. So you're breathing in gently through the nose and then out gently through the mouth with a ha, like a gentle ha sound, like you're fogging up a mirror. That's it. This sounds more complicated than it is. It's actually very easy. Square breathing is very easy once you get the hang of it. 4 sides. Each side is equal. And you're breathing in gently through the nose and out gently through the mouth. That's all. We're spending a little longer now because we're learning it, but when you do it, it will just be about 5 minutes, all of this. Okay, and then you're just gonna gently blink your eyes back open. If you know the closing sequence, you can do a little bit of the closing sequence. That's sort of rubbing the hands and washing the face, walking around. And that's it. Okay, so let's review and talk about it again. So it's simpler than it might seem. You're doing a combination of shaking the tree, which is the shaking part, flicking water, which is the flicking part, where you come up on the heels with the sound, and then square breathing at the end for a second with a little bit of settling in between. So really it's, depending on how you count, it's just 2 techniques. It's the flicking water plus shaking technique. It's really 1 technique now. I've merged 2 techniques. So let's call that 1 technique. And then square breathing at the end. In between those, we let the chi settle down a little bit. It felt good to sort of, release the kinks after shaking and settle into the stance. And this whole thing is going to take about 5 minutes. The video itself is actually 5 minutes. I've rewound it a few times, but that was just to get a little more teaching tips in there. Sorry about the unmuted people in the background. So first of all, is the overview clear? We can review whatever piece you want, or we can even do the video again if you want, but is the overview, hang on a second, fairly clear? How did that feel? Did it feel relaxing? That's the key there. For those of you who tried it, did it feel relaxing?
Yes, very relaxing.
Good. Thank you for the feedback. So that's what you're searching for. If it doesn't feel relaxing, probably you're too stiff. And that's unfortunately what often happens in a lot of the other schools, the way people teach it. They sort of teach it in a very stiff and traditional way. And, if you just remember to be sort of the world's worst dancer, that will help you. Oh, and a key part of my teaching, this is very important if you're new to my teaching, you are not only allowed to, but encouraged to butcher the form. This is a huge misconception in the world of Qigong, that the form needs to be perfect. Well, I intentionally chose an exercise that doesn't have a strict form anyway. So, but even if we did, like lifting the sky or any of the other techniques I teach, fireworks, if there is a strict form to the technique, you can still butcher it. It's the underlying aspects of the technique that are more important. The form is not the be all and end all of Qigong. And this is a hard concept for Westerners to understand. We're taught in our culture that everything is physical, that, to do this right, you have to nitpick about the form. And that's just not true in terms of getting results. And I know this for a fact because I've taught so many students, and, some of them have been in wheelchairs. Some of them literally were missing limbs. Some of them had a stroke and couldn't do the exercise on both sides. Some of them had, like, what is that? Muscular dystrophy. Like there's no way they could do the form perfectly. And yet by following the overall, the more important things in Qigong, like the breathing and the relaxation, they were able to get results. So you can as well. Okay. And the key is to really let go of this obsession and perfectionism regarding the form. So here we have this sort of ridiculous technique. There, even you saw me doing it. Okay. Here's the teacher, and I look ridiculous. So you can look ridiculous. You should look ridiculous too. And you should be following what feels good. You shouldn't have to be like, oh, I wonder if it's okay to do this. Okay. I'm giving you a blank check. It's okay. It's okay to experiment and see how you feel. The measure for how you're doing in Qigong is not what I say or some Chinese teacher says, right? Unfortunately, we tend to defer to an authority figure on these things. So what's the measure? The measure is, how do you feel? So when you do your little session of shaking tree, your little 5-minute session, you should feel, it may not be a ton of bricks, but you should feel a little bit better after your session. That tells you you're headed in the right direction. Maybe you can continue to tweak it. Maybe you can do something different. Maybe you can ask me a question, hey, how do I do this? That's fine. But then the result should be that you feel a little bit better afterwards. We need to get that very clear, because it's the difference. This is going to sound melodramatic, but it's not. For some people, when they're learning an art like Qigong, this understanding about the relative unimportance of form is the difference between life and death. Now, I understand that might seem melodramatic to some of you, but for me, it was literally life and death. When I was learning Qigong, I was suicidal, and death was close, let's say. So had I learned Qigong in a way that didn't give me an emphasis on the results, it could have been bad. Right. And I'm not saying that, Qigong is the panacea or a cure-all to everything. That's not what we're saying here. But most people who end up trying to learn Qigong are trying to get some health benefits from it. And an obsession on form is not going to get them those benefits that they're looking for. So butcher the form and go for the feeling instead. Okay. Butcher the form and see how you feel. That's much more important. Okay, let's take a few quick questions about the, okay, so I'm getting so Melissa's sending me some questions. Is there
Anthony?
Yes, hi, Kathy, go ahead.
Could I ask, is it okay to walk around when you're doing that?
A little bit, yeah. You're not going to get the same effect. Certainly you can take little steps on your spot. But
Right.
if you try to walk around too much, you're not going to get the same effect. It's very hard to do the bouncing effect when you're walking. Actually, it morphs into a walking Qigong technique that I forget the name of at the moment, but it's not, of course it's okay. But I think that if you remain relatively stationary, you'll get a better effect from this particular technique.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome. Hang on. So Kara asked a question, is there an appropriate place to plug this into the 5-phase routine? This technique would go in phase 2 like any other technique, square breathing as well, right? And then instead of what I called settling the chi, you would use flowing breeze, swaying willow. Emily said, invariably, I get more anxious during square breathing. Does this indicate I should do it less or more? It means you should keep giving it a try. It does happen. So we need to figure it out. There's something that's going on that your breathing is triggering a mild anxiety response. I'm going to just assume, Emily, that the anxiety is relatively mild and that you can sort of work through it. But we also don't want to push through it, right? We don't want to take the no pain, no gain approach of the West, basically. That's the approach in Western culture, is no pain, no gain. And that's not the approach of Qigong. And you need to acknowledge that, because a lot of these things, this is the difference. So most of us here, I'm going to go ahead and assume, and maybe there's a few who come from Asian backgrounds, but most of us come from a Western culture. And let's be honest, a lot of Asian cultures are now so heavily Westernized that they understand both cultures, whereas we only typically understand our own. And there are little things like no pain, no gain that are built into our culture that we take for granted, but they're significant. So try not to push. Try, if you've never done it before, Emily, try to add the shaking the tree to see if that helps. And worst comes to worst, you just skip it. You skip the square breathing and you keep coming back to it. But what it should, another thing to do is check the jaw. And that's another big tip. So I mentioned in the email that there's a way, an easy way to check to see if your nervous system is amped up. Throughout the day, you might even want to set a reminder like a Siri or a Google reminder or something, or Alexa or whatever. Sorry, I want to make sure Alexa didn't start listening to me. Set some sort of reminder asking you to check your jaw. You will find throughout the day that there's going to be tension in your jaw. First, you have to learn what it feels like to let go of it. So you have to really play with it. Move the jaw around in a lot of different ways, then release it totally so that you could actually stick a finger in your mouth, maybe not all the way, but there's enough room that you could, stick a finger in your mouth. That's what your jaw feels like, relaxed. And you'll find that throughout your day, that the jaw will start to clamp. And even if the mouth is open a little bit, there's going to be residual tension, especially up here in the hinge of the jaw. You can use this, and this makes sense because of polyvagal theory and the vagus nerve, which runs through there. In short, if your jaw is tense, you can assume that your nervous system is jacked up, and that's not good. That means you have higher levels of cortisol flowing in your bloodstream right now. Cortisol is the stress hormone. It means your heart rate is elevated and your heart rate variability is lowered, which is not good. It basically means all the markers in your body for a stressed out nervous system, your fight or flight or sympathetic nervous system, all those markers are there. And that means that your body's not healing at the speed that it needs to heal. If you want more on this, you need to watch my free video series. In video 1 and 2, I cover all of this about the nervous system and the parasympathetic and sympathetic. If you haven't watched those yet, please go watch them. There's a lot of really important information in there and presented in a very easily digestible way. So you can go check that out. So this is another thing to check, Emily, is that your jaw is not tense and that your nervous system isn't too jacked up. And then explore from there and see what happens and give me feedback and we can continue to work on it. Hang on, I'm still going through these questions, which Melissa is forwarding to me. If someone has back problems, can they still do shaking the tree? Of course, if typically when people say back problems, they're referring to some sort of herniated disc. So if you have a herniated disc, you're probably in a lot of pain, but you're already in a lot of pain, right? So you have to be the judge of this. You can ask your doctor, but you have to be the judge of this. You can do shaking a tree and see, does it aggravate the pain or is the pain just basically the same? If the pain's the same, then you can keep doing it. There's probably, and I'm speaking as someone who's had badly herniated discs, right? Back pain is an old, terrible friend of mine, right? So I know what I'm talking about here. I'm not just, bullshitting you. I know what severe back pain is like. You have to work around it and try to find, that's why I've given you a lot of freedom with the technique to see what works for you. Certainly you can do the square breathing and you can learn diaphragmatic breathing, which you can even just Google, or belly breathing. And that can be very, very helpful for opening up the energy flow to the low back. So the short answer is yes, you can do it with back pain. What's the difference between flowing breeze, swaying willow, and shaking tree? Flowing breeze, swaying willow is spontaneous flow of energy, which you can learn in my programs. It's different. Shaking a tree is intentional. One is spontaneous and one is intentional. In shaking the tree, we're very free and we're moving around, but you're deciding. You're consciously deciding how to move and within a set framework. Flowing breeze, swaying willow is a smoother flow, typically smoother and more spontaneous. So it's in a different category of Qigong. When resting, square breathing, the arms are separate from the body. No, the arms are, when you put the hands on the lower belly, the hands are touching. The hands are pancaked on top of each other and then on the lower belly. But that's minor. Just put the hands someplace on the lower body and get comfortable. You're just tuning in with that area. It doesn't, the hand position is, again, not that important, so you can butcher that. Can you pick up a leg and shake it? Absolutely. So, Blaze, it depends a little bit on, your athleticism. For some people, that's going to be more challenging, but you can definitely handle it. You shake it around and you find a way to, because what that does is it releases the hip flexors and the hip stabilizers. So even just lifting one leg and sort of letting it hang and relax a little bit can be helpful, but absolutely you can. I always sway a little during the settling part. That's your chi starting to flow. And if you want to learn more about that, you need to learn Flowing Breeze, Swaying Willow from me in one of my programs. And I even have free programs that teach it, so you don't have to even pay, although obviously, I hope you'll sign up for one of my bigger programs. Yeah, having a tight jaw is not a tight jaw. It's a tight nervous system. I have one too. And okay, it's not so easy to check in. If you have a partner, a spouse in the house who can remind you, that can be helpful. Like, honey, I know this is going to sound weird, but could you remind me a couple times a day to check in with my jaw? Or set an alarm or put post-it notes, whatever's going to do to remind you. Because the thing is that when your jaw is the tensest during the day, is the least mindful part of your day, which means it's the time that you're least likely to notice. Oh, you could put a little note on your computer, little post-it note or something, right? To remind you, hey, how's your jaw? Check in and see how the jaw is and really move it around. Almost like a cow chewing its grass, like move it around to find out, slide it forward, back, move it in different directions to find out if the jaw is relaxed. Yes, you're going to get a replay of the webinar. The beginner's class, I assume you mean the 101 that will start in 2 weeks. January, what did we say, Melissa? 21st, January 21st. Patricia, I'm not sure which webinar you're referring to, but I'd give, well, maybe if the 101, was that the one? Yeah, I haven't sent that one out yet. Yeah, the previous 101 I haven't sent out yet. I get a free pass, I hope, because it was kind of a crazy week. Okay, I think I got all the questions there. Melissa, if I missed one of those questions, can you send it to me again? Yes, there's going to be a replay. Okay, so let's review a few things about the key points, the things that actually matter in shaking the tree. 1, shaking in whatever way that makes you feel comfortable. So this is the, world's worst dancer. You're going to shake. You saw me doing it in a lot of different ways, shaking up the body and the nervous system and the fascia. I don't know that we have time to talk about fascia, but if you want a modern explanation for what we're doing, releasing the fascia is huge. Your fascia is everywhere. It wraps every muscle, every organ. It penetrates every part of the body. It's the connective tissue that is all throughout the body, and it's directly linked to the nervous system. And shaking relaxes your your fascia. So if you don't believe in energy or don't understand how this stuff works, just think of relaxing your muscles and your fascia, and that's enough. That's going to be a direct link to relaxing your nervous system. And if you're relaxing your nervous system a little bit every day, you may need more than just 5 minutes a day, but it's better than nothing. And it's going to start to unwind the cumulative, that's the problem. The effects of stress in your life, especially the past year, but in general also, the effects of stress are cumulative. It's like compound interest, but in the worst way, right? Stress builds up, gets trapped in your system, and becomes cumulative over time. That's why, honestly, like my Qigong 101 program and my 201, they're both a year long. Why so long? Because that's how long it takes to make real change with an art like Qigong. if I did a 12-week course, you might have a good 12 weeks, but if you stop practicing afterwards, then what's the point? You know, Qigong saved my life. I'm here to help you change your life and transform your life. And to do that, you need to practice Qigong often. And that is not an easy thing to do. Sometimes it takes students a couple of years to implement a daily Qigong habit. But the good news is that it can be done. That, you know, even if you're a busy mom with several kids, several young kids in the house, right? Let's say you're a busy working mom with 3 kids. You know, it's pretty busy, right? That's like as busy as it gets probably. I'm speaking from experience. I'm obviously not a busy mom. I'm speaking from experience with my students who have been able to implement Qigong into their daily lives despite having arguably the busiest lives possible. It can be done. You can overcome the willpower problems, the self-sabotage problems. You can overcome all of that stuff and do it, but you need to set the goal of doing Qigong every day so that you're de-stressing yourself on a daily basis. A couple more questions. Is it also fine to practice it within the 5-phase routine and use it a few times intermittently before the closing sequence? Yes, of course, Mindy. If you don't understand that, that's because Mindy's in a lot of my other programs, but I'm just giving her a quick answer. Is the beginner class a paid class? I have a beginner's class that's free. I have beginner's classes that are paid. And then the 101, which is what a few people are talking about, is paid. That's a year-long course. And that's basically my best program. Does yawning accelerate the chi circulation or is it a detractor? It's good. It's not, you got it backwards. It's not an accelerator or a detractor. Yawning is a sign of the chi flowing. So I guess I would say that it does accelerate in the sense that it's good to allow yourself to yawn. It's the most natural thing in the world. Yawning is a sign of your nervous system unwinding a little bit. So yawning during a practice or after a practice is a very good sign and you should encourage it. I'm probably the only teacher you've ever had who's actually encouraging you to yawn in his classes, but that is the case. Oh, right. Yeah, Jim. Right? I mean, well, you guys are in lockdown there in the UK, but I feel the same way. You know, I don't know how people got through this past year without Qigong. So those of you who don't have Qigong yet, you're in the right place because that's why I released free programs. I did a lot for free last year. I gave away a lot of free stuff because, you know, the world was crazy and people were dying. Literally, they're still dying more than ever. And I wanted to do whatever I could. You know, I don't, this is a business. I'm a small business owner, right? I'm a professional teacher. Eventually I do need to get paid, but as you get to know me, you also realize that like, sometimes I just do things because I feel like it's the right thing to do, right? I take a stance because I think it's the right thing to do. That's what I did last year. I gave away a ton of free stuff. And I think probably a lot of you here benefited from that somehow. And I hope you did. Certainly the feedback we got, a lot of people benefited from the free stuff that I've given out. But now we're in the time of year. January is when I open my Qigong 101. That's a year-long program. You get a lot of access to me, just like this, you know, direct access and webinars and then recorded material, just a ton of materials. So you'll have an opportunity to sign up for that next week. But, you know, I try to give something for everybody as best as I can while still, you know, making a living because this is my only job. And I do have a lot of free materials. If you want the best free stuff that I have, watch the Art of Healing workshop, which I sent you links to already. So that'll be available for another week and a half or so. It's 4 videos. And at the end of that, you'll get a chance to register for the 101. But the 4 videos are worth, I don't know how much. I mean, $100 at least. Like if you watch those 4 videos, it's going to save you a lot of time and money in practicing Qigong. And you're of course going to learn some Qigong as well. So take advantage of it. I mean, yes, I'm promoting my Qigong 101 program. Yes, I would love for you to sign up, but don't feel guilty about taking advantage of my free stuff. I like as a professional teacher with students all over the world, like it's what I do is I give away a lot of free stuff. You should absolutely consume the free stuff that I get. Do your best. For example, I've got students who live, you know, in Pakistan and Italy, Italy too, but Pakistan and India. And, you know, the dollar is just crazy. Like it's hard for them to afford my courses. I do my best. Sometimes I give them, you know, a scholarship or whatever, but I have so much free stuff that some of those students have been able to take advantage of my free stuff and do a lot just from my free materials. I also have hundreds of free blog posts, so there's a lot there to work with. Talking as a single dad with 2 children with traumatic backgrounds, I would not know how to deal with it without Qigong. Yep. Especially during these challenging times, the one-on-one is worth every penny. Thank you, Vincent. And yeah, you've had some challenges this past year. It's been an intense year for you on top of everything else. Don't worry about not doing all the one-on-one modules yet, Patricia. That's the great thing. You get lifetime access, so you can go back and do them whenever you need to. Oh, Amy, that's terrific. You've been practicing since April. Easy to do. Yep, you'll love it. Certain aches and pains have disappeared. I feel more hopeful. That's huge, right? Feeling hopeful these days is so big, such a big deal. Keeping me alive. I look forward to my daily practices. Good. Okay, I'm just sort of catching up on the comments here. Okay, sorry, I'm multitasking here. Melissa's texting me. I've got the chat comments here, so I apologize for multitasking. How often, this is a good question. How often throughout the day do you recommend during our practice? So the practice that I taught you today, you can do, let's say, as many as 5 times a day. I mean, I guess you could do it more, but five times a day at 5 minutes each is already pretty good. That would be fantastic, actually. I mean, I'm not asking you to do 5 minutes a day. Sorry, I'm not asking you to do 5 times a day. Once a day is where you start. You just do a little bit. It can even be 2 minutes, but you just start somewhere. That's the key. Start somewhere and then see. And then once you start to realize what you're trying to do is associate. This is a cue habit reward loop, which is one of the modern understandings of willpower and habit making. You're trying to get a feel for the reward of Qigong. So those of us who have been doing it for a while, it's like, I don't know, I don't drink alcohol right now, but you know, when you drink like a beer or a glass of wine or something, you get this reward, like it tastes good and it relaxes you, right? You know this, assuming that you're drinking responsibly or whatever, but like you get some sort of reward from it. If you, whatever it is that you do to de-stress, if you take a hot bath, let's say, and that's your way of de-stressing, there's a reward during and after the hot bath. Those of you who are new to Qigong, you're trying to train your nervous system to recognize Qigong as a valid and productive reward so that you know, like, oh, I could just go do 5 minutes of Qigong and de-stress. And that's what a few of us were talking about, especially this past year. We know from experience that when, you know, shit gets crazy, when the stress of the world overwhelms our ability to cope with it, that we can go do Qigong for 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever. And it's not going to be perfect. I am, you know, not, I am a hermit, but I'm not like some guru on the mountain, right? I'm a normal person. I run a business. I spend a lot of time on the computer, but I know that I can go do something, that I can go do my Qigong, and afterwards I'm going to feel a little bit better. And that, after a year like this especially, can be a lifesaver. It can literally be a lifesaver. It could save your life directly or indirectly. Remember that Qigong will complement everything else that you're doing. So again, I'm speaking from experience. If you do yoga, you're the one that's going to tell me this in a couple months. Oh, I started doing Qigong in addition to my yoga, and my yoga got so much better. If you're doing Tai Chi or sitting meditation, whatever it is that you're doing, you could be doing other healing modalities. Let's say you get a massage every week or acupuncture. Qigong is a wonderful complement to that, and it will accelerate the healing from the other things that you're doing. Let me see this. I turned to doing Qigong after my hip replacement in 2019. Your approach to it has helped me the most in feeling better and maintaining my health. Thank you. You're very welcome. I found your COVID-19 program somehow and has been a lifesaver for me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. So there you go, Angela, that's exactly it. If this idea of the reward, if you have fatigue issues and you practice Qigong and you always feel better, then you're doing something right. Now, that's where we start, right? We can always tweak Qigong or learn more advanced Qigong and do more, but the starting place is to feel good with what you're doing. Even in the short term, like I said, when we were doing the exercises, in the short run, you should feel good immediately afterwards, okay? Or during. You should feel like you're releasing stress during. That's so important. I did address the question about box breathing causing more anxiety, unless Emily said something else that I missed in response. But the short answer, Mark, was to keep trying, to try different things and experiment with it. Make sure that the jaw is relaxed until you work around it. For some reason, your body, this is a topic I can't get into in this webinar, but it's a trauma response. Even if you're not aware that you have trauma, basically your body is a little bit, some other tips that I can give you. Your body is afraid to relax with square breathing because relaxing doesn't feel totally safe. So try keeping your eyes open, check that your jaw is relaxed. You can literally look around you a little bit while you're doing it. Like you're looking for threats, which of course aren't there because we're not animals in the wild anymore, but that's what your nervous system thinks. And see how that goes until you get a hang for square breathing and it lowers the anxiety. Sometimes you're also misinterpreting the anxiety. It's like your anxiety is no worse, but this may not be the case for you, but sometimes you're just tuning into it. You're just more mindful because of the square breathing. And because you're more mindful, you can actually sort of tune into your anxiety a little bit more. So make sure that that's not the case. Again, just for those, if you came in late or anything, square breathing is equal sides, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. It's going to be one of those probably. 2, 3, or 4 seconds on each side. So in 2 seconds, pause 2 seconds, out 2 seconds, pause 2 seconds. And you're breathing in gently through the nose and then out gently through the mouth. The breathing during shaking the tree is spontaneous. However, when you do flicking water, that's a breath, right? And that sound is really important. Try to make that sound. You're going to feel a little bit ridiculous doing it. If somebody's sleeping in the room next door, you have to work around it, but that sound is important. The vocalization is one of the things that helps us to, especially since we're not doing a long routine. The vocalization helps you to release stress. I can prove it to you. Let's all prove it right now. Just sit up straight, but relaxed somehow. And take in a nice breath. So if everybody was unmuted, I should hear everybody, right? If we were in a class together, I should hear 119 people exhaling. Let's try it again. All right, everybody's exhaling. Good. Do it again and see if you can hear yourself. Can you hear your own sighing sound? Exhale through the jaw, through the mouth. That means you have to relax the jaw at least a little bit. Good, good, that's it. Whoever made that sound. So you can experiment with what sound to make, but then tune in. We just did that a few times. That was like less than a minute. How do you feel? When you start to tune into these things, you'll realize that, oh, I do feel a little bit better. Or you can try it, for example, if you're concentrating at work and you become aware that you're not concentrating very well anymore, do that. The sighing sound, this breath, similar breath to what we do in flicking water, do that a few times, and you may be able to squeeze out a few more minutes of concentration, and then you should probably take a break, and you can take a Qigong break. But these sounds that we make, they have an effect on the nervous system, and that's what you want. Is it okay to do before going to sleep? You can try it and see. It may keep some of you up, but if you do it very gently, it should be good. You just do it for a couple minutes before bed. The importance of the sequence in these two exercises, you could do it backwards, but I'll tell you what the sequence is. Basically, we're shaking the chi, right? We're shaking the body and the chi and releasing tension. Then we're settling down a little bit, and then square breathing and sort of letting everything settle back down to the natural place, which is the lower dantian, or the lower energy center. But if you do it out of order, you're not going to break yourself or blow up. Hold on, there's a lot of questions here. So square breathing has been sort of scientifically proven to do a lot for, look, if some of you are struggling with square breathing, don't worry. Just breathe however you like during the second phase. You don't need square breathing. But the beauty of square breathing is that you can do it any time of the day. And in fact, I recommend that a lot of you try square breathing different parts of the day. For example, washing the dishes. You can even just 5 breaths, like one handful of square breaths while you're washing the dishes or doing something else or taking a shower or brushing your teeth, you can get some extra mileage out of de-stressing there. And it could literally, if you could measure your cortisol levels, they might not go down a lot, but you would see a drop in your cortisol levels. How amazing is that? But anyway, the square breathing has been proven in a lot of ways. It's an ancient technique, but it's been proven to have a very salutary effect on the nervous system, which is why I've included here. Oh, I see. The holding is where the anxiety is. Keep playing with it. So if you need to, maybe Kimberly and Mark and Emily, the ones who are struggling with square breathing, you may be breathing too deep. I know that sounds crazy, but try not breathing to full capacity. Try to breathe to 70% instead of 100%. You may need to change the pace then in order to feel comfortable still. Yes, of course, you can butcher the form of square breathing too. That applies to everything. Okay, so Naomi's suggesting that you slow down and do the square breathing more briefly. Give your brain body time to process. This is also being patient with it and giving it time. Like as long as it's not too uncomfortable, you're not, going into full-blown anxiety, you just keep trying and keep working at it. Not everything works the first try around. Yes, I mentioned that earlier, Claire, that actually both shaking tree and flicking water are great for therapists. So if you're a healthcare worker and you want to get rid of some negative energy, whatever that, negative energy is a broad connotation. You can use it with this broad meaning, and you want to shake some of that off, then do the shaking the tree. Yeah, the problem is that the holding in the inhalation, the brief hold, if it's too deep, there is tension in exhalation. So just yin yang wise, inhalation, there's more tension. Exhalation is the release of tension. That's yin and yang right there. So we need some of that tension. That's good. I mean, you need tension in the diaphragm to breathe, right? That's necessary. Tension isn't a great word, but you get what I mean. So the idea is to play with it until square breathing has a relaxing effect, which if I can do it, I'm sure you can do it too, because I've got trauma, I've got anxiety, depression. I'm right there with you guys, and I'm able to do square breathing and get a good benefit out of it. I think that some of you, simply by breathing, shooting for 70% instead of 100%, that will help a lot. Okay, good. So I'll send you, we went a little bit over, that's fine. We'll keep going a little bit longer. I'll send you the replay. So if you want to replay the instructions for shaking a tree, you'll be able to watch that. Does anybody have any other questions about anything that we did? Oh, one more thing. I mentioned in the email, the emotion that is worst for your health. Anybody know which emotion is the worst one for your health long term? Anybody
Shame
guess?
and anger.
Okay, anger is one option. Worry, fear, envy, depression, anger. Oh, somebody got it. Okay, the prize goes to Vincent. The worst emotion is a stuck emotion. I'm very much paraphrasing Chinese medicine here, but it's true that in Chinese medical theory and Qigong theory, it's not the emotion per se. And for different people, it will be different. So those emotions that you mentioned may be the ones that you are struggling with the most, but it's not that emotion per se. Anger is not the enemy. It's stuck anger that then becomes repressed and morphs. That's the danger. Fear is not the enemy. It's stuck fear, right? All of the emotions are there for a reason and they serve a purpose. It's like an operating system. Like emotions serve us. They can be very useful. Some fear is necessary, right? You should have some fear of, for example, crossing the street or getting in your car. I mean, driving is like the most dangerous thing we do. It's not a bad idea to have a mild amount of fear and recognize that, okay, this is a dangerous thing that I'm doing. I'm going to put on my seatbelt. I'm going to be, pay attention while I drive. I'm certainly not going to text while I drive. Like that, a little bit of fear there is helpful. It can save your life. It's when emotions get stuck that we get into trouble. And what the ancient Qigong masters have said for centuries is what modern science is now saying, which is these emotions literally get stuck in the nervous system. The ancient Chinese would say it gets stuck in the meridians. And in the modern context, we would say it gets stuck in the fascia and the nervous system and the brain. It's the same. It doesn't matter whether you're looking at it through the ancient paradigm or the modern paradigm. Something that happened to you 25 years ago may very well still be in your system. The stress of this past year, as I was mentioning earlier, is lodged in your system, whether you like it or not, or whether you can acknowledge it or not. Some of us have had more stressful years. Some of us have had less stressful years. For some people, it wasn't that big of a deal, but I'm pretty confident that no one got through 2020 unscathed, right? Because the whole world was stressed. So that affects us, like the energy of everybody else affects us one way or another. And some of that is stuck in your system now. So what do we do about that? Well, we get it unstuck, and shaking the tree is a good way. The best way that I know of to get rid of stuck energy is the 5-phase routine. Okay, so if you need more motivation, even more motivation to learn the 5-phase routine from me, there you go. It gives you a comprehensive 15 to 20 minute way to process emotions without, and this is key, especially those of us, myself included, who are dealing with trauma. It allows you to process emotions without having to understand them or relive them. You might get a little bit of the memories and the emotions as they come up and move through. That's fine, but it's not like therapy where you have to go and talk about what happened, right? So if something happened to you in your childhood, for example, for me, it did. Like I have some childhood trauma I'm dealing with. It's not necessary for me to relive those traumatic experiences, because Qigong gives us a framework to work through that stuck emotion, let it flow, let it move out so that we can get back to our normal functioning. The book is progressing. We're going back and forth with the editors right now. Thank you, Anne, for asking. PTSD is one form of trauma. It's just one of the labels they've put on trauma, which I don't know what you're dealing with, Kathleen, but just understand that the modern labels for trauma have not yet caught up to the actual research. So the DSM-5, which is the diagnostic manual for mental health, doesn't really include enough options for trauma yet. There are many other options, developmental trauma being the biggest. Like childhood trauma affects us more than we have acknowledged as a society. So to sum that up, the stuck emotion, I say this in classes all the time. The only bad emotion is a stuck emotion. So keep that in mind. It's not the emotions themselves, it's the stuck ones. Now, okay, with a caveat that if your anger has been stuck for a long time and then you start to let it flow a little bit and you let that out at somebody, that is not good, right? I'm not giving you permission to go get angry at somebody and do something, right? That's not what I'm saying. We need to find productive, holistic ways to let all of the emotions flow, because if they just flow, then they move, then they don't get stuck, then everything is fine. And if you're confused about this with anger, I have articles on this, blog posts. Even the Dalai Lama and lots of spiritual teachers as well talk about getting angry. And the Dalai Lama has gone so far as to say, I'm just using it as an example. You don't have to be Buddhist or anything like that. He's just a good example of this, that if you're human, you're going to get angry. That's natural. But we need to find productive ways to deal with our anger and let that anger flow so that it doesn't become repressed and twist into something that can do damage, which in this case, the Chinese would say that the anger injures the liver and gallbladder meridians, which would in turn injure the actual liver and gallbladder. It's actually more complicated in that you're going to do damage to other places in your body, but that's a simplified way of looking at it. Like if you have repressed anger, if it's not flowing, if it's stuck, then your liver and gallbladder meridians are not going to be functioning well. And that is not a good thing, obviously, right? Even if you don't know why, it's pretty clear. That's not a good thing. You're very welcome to everybody saying thank you. You're very welcome. Of course, if you need to leave early, go ahead and sneak out. I tend to just, if you're new to flowing Zen and me, well, welcome to the club. I tend to go on rants and talk a lot, so get used to it. So I'm just trying to answer everybody's questions before we wrap it up here. Yes, difference between rehearsing and acting it out, and also letting it flow. It's not just rehearsing or acting it out. The problem is that in our culture, and some cultures are worse, some are better. Some cultures have more repressed emotions, like, well, Americans and Brits are among the worst, for example. We just, like the Brits, I mean, even have a term for it, the stiff upper lip. So like, I say Brits, and it just occurred to me that I hope that's inclusive to everybody in the United Kingdom. I actually don't know if there's a good term for that. Anyway, everybody in the United Kingdom, you have that cultural meme of the stiff upper lip, which is literally like repressing your emotions. That is not a good thing. We've got a lot of the puritanical stuff in the US and different cultures around the world. You've got your own version of it, but we need to do something about that. And Qigong gives us a good tool for working with that. Kimberly, I keep telling you, don't encourage my rants or they'll keep happening. Okay, good. But Jim, you're a Brit, so I'm not totally sure that that's, can I listen to you? I will. I'll trust you. Good. I'm glad it's inclusive. Okay. That's two of you have said it, so I'm going to trust you. Any idea when the 301 will start? I'm a little behind because of the world, but it is a process. So the book is happening in the background with the editors. The 101 is happening now. Registration will open like next week, and then we'll start that program. And then all my energy will shift to the 301. So I'm not sure. Oh, what happened? I didn't see what happened with Keith. Sorry, I'm behind here. Oh, Keith. Okay. So you lost a son 39 years ago. So that's, yeah, my condolences. 39 years ago. That is intense. I mean, I have no idea. I don't have kids, so I can't relate, but I know that people say that losing a child is one of the most intense emotions that you can experience. So we can assume that some of that is still there and that it's affecting you somehow. And there are ways to process those emotions without, you know, obviously we're not asking you to forget about it. That's not what it is. That's a confusing point a lot of people have, especially with grief. You can honor your son, the life that he lived, and the loss that you experienced and the grief that you experienced, and still process these emotions and let it flow in a way that allows you to be healthier and happier, which is, I'm sure, what your son would wish for you. Yes, I'm gonna send out a recording, so don't worry if you missed stuff. And because I've gone over, this will make it easier so you can review the exercise. Is it okay to keep thinking about worries while doing the fireworks meditation, which is from the free Art of Healing workshop that I mentioned? Yeah, it's okay as long as you realize that you're not expected to be worry-free or thought-free. So rather than shoot for being worry-free or thought-free, Kathy, what you're trying to do is be aware of the worries. Oh, I'm worried about this, and you just let it go. Even just labeling it is a great start. So if you're doing your fireworks exercise and you realize, oh, I'm worried about this work thing, or I'm worried about what am I going to have for dinner? Like, you just notice that, and then you let it go, and you come back, you bring yourself back to the present moment. What are you doing in the present moment? Fireworks, or shaking the tree, or some other Qigong exercise, or your yoga, whatever it is. You're not trying to empty your mind. That's a big misconception. You are getting skillful at letting go of worries and thoughts that you become aware of in your mind. That's it. That's it. And that is something that we can all do. And as you become skillful, you may actually realize you're doing it like literally hundreds of times in a session. You're letting go of thoughts. And again, for perspective, even Zen masters and advanced spiritual masters who have years and decades of meditation experience, they're doing it more skillfully than us. So they're letting go more skillfully. And by that point, after years of meditation, they have fewer worries and thoughts. But thoughts and worries still arise even in the mind of a high-level master. So Zoom user, I'm not sure who this is. I'm currently doing the 201. Should I do the 101 or wait for the 301? I don't have a good answer for you. And, you know, I've apologized for this before, that the 101, 2, and 301 are staggered. That's just the way it has to go, because I can't open them up at the same time. So because I'm so involved in my programs, it's just too much work for me. So they have to be staggered. So the 301 will open in the springtime sometime. It's going to be different, more advanced material. So I think the question is, are you going to want to do the 101 at some point, which is arguably my best course. The 201 is very good. A lot of people love it, but the 101 is okay. At the very least, they're equal. So however much you liked the 201, you will like the 101 at least as much, even though it may seem like going backwards. It's not, because it's just fundamental stuff. So I can't really answer the question for you. You could dive into the 101. You know, I have a little money back guarantee anyway, but you can see how it goes. But my general feeling is that most people end up taking both programs anyway. And then once I add the 301, people, regardless of where they start, 101, 201, or 301, they're probably going to end up taking all three eventually. And since you're getting lifetime access, it's just not that big of a deal. You can do what you like. This will be recorded and I will send you a copy. And in general, most of the materials in my teachings are recorded, so you can watch them again, which is a great benefit of online learning. Good. I'm glad you found the freebies helpful. That's the idea. You know, we all got to do our best to do some good in this world. And you know, I will continue to give freebies, and I will continue to give paid courses as well. I'm always glad to hear that people are benefiting from both. Will there be a webinar to address trauma? Eventually, yes. I'm already trying to bring some of that. Probably a blog post first, Kimberly, and then a webinar or a course or something on the topic of trapped trauma. Yeah, the 101, you're maybe right, David, that the 101 is worth doing just because of the Zhanzhuang, the stance training that we do, and the build up towards it. That's really critical too, that it's not just throwing you into the stance training, but it's building up in a systematic way so that you can benefit from the stance training. All right, I've gone way over. Let's call it a day. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I will send you, I'm not sure, Melissa and I will figure out the replay. Bev was here, I think, and if not, she's still here. Okay, hi, Bev. So we're going to get a transcript as well, or show notes, not transcript, show notes. So you'll get, you need to give us a couple of days, because Bev will go through and she does a great job, you'll see. And you'll get show notes and a replay of the video, so you can sort of just jump to wherever you need, review whatever topic you want to review. But just give us a couple days. I'm not sure how fast we can do it. We'll do it as fast as we can. And in the meantime, check out the Art of Healing workshop. There's literally links in the emails that I've sent you for this workshop, and you'll be seeing my emails. If you haven't watched those, really take advantage. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Is it more critical to keep up with the 101? Critical versus what? What are the options there, Kimberly? Mindy, I'm thinking about Costa Rica very deeply and what we're going to do. I mean, the short answer is we will be back to Costa Rica sooner or later and in full force. The only question is when. And some of that is beyond my control. My fear is that Costa Rica will soon start requiring a proof of vaccination from the US. I wouldn't be surprised if they do that, which I can't blame them if they're going to do that. It's just, it becomes something that's out of my control, right? That's not something that, like, normally it's hard enough to get people to go to another country. And then if they're going to require vaccines for entry, it creates a lot of headaches. So I don't know what we're going to do. I don't even know. See, okay, here's another problem. I don't know that I could get in then, right? Because I don't know when in Florida, I'm like the last, which is where I am right now. I'll be the last person scheduled to get a vaccine, right? I'm not in any of the categories. I'm going to be whatever, like stage 3 of the vaccines. So that becomes a pretty big problem if I have a Costa Rica retreat and I can't get in to the country. So I need to solve that problem, and I'm working on it right now. Okay, thanks for joining, everybody. Thanks for, taking the time to look at an art like Qigong. I know it's, for you guys, you're on the page with Qigong, like, it's something that you've come into this circle somehow, whether you're new or you've been around for a while. But I think we all forget how much the world needs Qigong. And it feels like Qigong is blossoming, and it really is, but it's still a tiny percentage of people who practice Qigong. You may not realize it, but you are still way ahead of the pack. One day I feel like, probably billions of people will be practicing Qigong, but we're not there yet. And I, as a teacher, really appreciate, whoops, what happened? There I am. I, as a teacher, appreciate students who are interested in this topic that I've dedicated my life to. So I thank you for being interested in Qigong, for giving it a try, for learning Qigong, and for practicing. I hope it benefits you. That's all I ever want for my students. I hope you got something out of this webinar. Keep an eye out for the emails. Enjoy my free workshop series, and I will see you guys around. Have a wonderful day and keep on Qigonging on. Take care, everybody. I will see you all soon.
Bye, everyone. Thank you,
Okay.
Cynthia. Thank you,
Goodbye.
Melissa.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye, thank
Bye-bye,
you.
everybody.